like Facebook and our Facebook, my page, the Dukes of Blather page, and the YouTube page all should be streaming as we speak. So we are on the air and ready to go. So hopefully this will be an easier way to do things because it will stream on all three services or all three pages. And we won't have to bounce around because I think we need to have a YouTube presence. That would be really good. And I know Wick's a pretty big supporter of a YouTube pay or YouTube feed, so I think it's good that we have one. So
Yeah,
that will be
there's
more
on
longitude
there.
than I have latitude.
Yeah, it should allow us to do a lot more. Hopefully, the problem is my computer is a little older, and I need to get a new one. But my kids are obsessed with my computer, and I don't want to go buy $1,000 computer just so my kids can stomp it to death. So it's kind of
that
a
one.
weird situation. I would. I gave them my old one before. They want the new one. That's the problem. And this thing has all kind of. I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Anthony Leone. Is not connected to the Spaghetti Western director, but tell me about this setup. It was like, man, it's a really, really cool setup, and it makes things a lot easier. So, Anthony, if you're out there, I know you sometimes listen. I very much appreciate. See, we got even a banner here. I mean, it's just amazing. We are moving up in the world, guys. I'm telling you.
I tell you what,
I can't stay centered.
Does it bother you? I can change. Look at this. I can change things around. Well, I just get hung up and not be able to do it. I can do that, which might actually be
square.
Well, unfortunately, it makes the host the big square no matter what I do. I can move you guys around.
There we go. That's like the old one.
That's good.
There we go. That's good right there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So everybody watching the game, what's going on?
Oh God, I'm having a horrible fantasy week.
It is. Last I checked, it was Mac Jones looked like a Hall of Famer on that last drive. Just came down. I mean, stuck it right in the end zone. It's 14-13.
I'll tell you what,
that was 16 to, I think Tampa Bay now 16 points.
So they went down.
NBC's that's really beefing up the whole
longest
Tom Brady and Bill Belichick hate each other angle.
16-14 Tampa Bay.
There we go. But it's
I have Tom Brady as my quarterback on the fantasy team.
He's not doing well tonight.
Huh?
He's not doing too great tonight, is he?
Who?
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady's got 250 yards in the fourth quarter. So,
on
average,
no touchdowns, does he? Yeah, you got to get those touchdowns, man. Mac Jones looks good.
Got me 10 points.
Touchdowns for Mac Jones. 2 touchdowns for Mac Jones. Looks good. Had an interception early, but I don't know if that was really his fault.
Not really.
But, no, I mean, I'm a believer. I think Mac Jones is the real deal. I think he just needs a little bit of time in that system. It's a complicated system, and I think.
He just made an excellent pass.
His accuracy is just astonishing, even in college.
So he was third string in Alabama.
Yeah, he was behind Jalen and Tua at one point.
That never started.
He started last year.
National championship season, right?
Yeah.
And he looked great that year.
I mean, he shattered almost all passing records last year.
Yeah, he's a real thrower, man. But yes, NBC's beefing that up. I was watching it, and they were having the Belichick and Tom Brady old photos popping up all the time, and oh look, they used to be best friends, and now they hate each other. And I don't believe that narrative. I think that there's only so much you can do when a guy's 42 years old. You kind of, I mean, listen, diet, exercise, supplements, all these things have taken great strides in the last 10, 15 years. And now we kind of know what diet can do for you and what taking care of yourself can do. And obviously Tom Brady's great at doing that, but quarterbacks typically don't throw around the ball at 45. I mean, it's just not really what happens. And so I think New England just, had to move on because I think the odds were either he's the exception to all the rule of the NFL, or he is going to start, declining. And I think they took a bet that he might start declining. And I don't
been
know that it
great
was a
this
bad
year.
decision. He has. I mean, he got a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay.
Oh snap!
But
even this year, every game this year, he's been great.
Gadget play.
Yeah.
New England on the 5.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's been great. But I mean, is Mac Jones that guy that you get when it falls in your lap this year? I mean, it almost you had to suffer through Cam Newton. Yeah. And they don't have a lot of weapons for sure, but honestly, grabbing Mac Jones, like, what were they in the middle of the first? I mean, he just fell to him. And it was like, this guy's perfect for New England. And so I must think, like, do you do that if you have Tom Brady? I don't know, or do you have a situation like Aaron Rodgers where you have Tom Brady pissed off that you got a quarterback? You know what I mean? Like, I just think that they were trying to beat the age trend. And I thought, I think Mac Jones is good.
Well, he was ready to. Belichick was ready to move on when he drafted Garoppolo.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Well, Belichick doesn't look like somebody that has really any friends. Like they're going to make a movie about him one day, and it's going to be really sad.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was. I think they're definitely going to. I think Belichick is certainly on the spectrum.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's an uncommon focus he has.
He doesn't seem like he's focused on anything else at all.
Nothing. No, yeah, that's not normal. Normal people can't do that.
He's awkward in social situations. His interviews are very awkward. His after the game or post game interviews are very awkward. I definitely think that there's. I mean, people on the spectrum do amazing things. When they focus, and so. Yeah, I mean, he's an inspiration if he is for people that are.
And he knows. Sure. But, did you see was it the top 100 players or the NFL Network's?
I didn't see it.
All-time team. They had Belichick. He was one of the commentators, and there is nothing about football he doesn't know, even beyond X's and O's, just the history of it. And he knows who George Blanda's offensive coordinator was in college.
Yeah.
That kind of knowledge. Just crazy.
Hey, he's incredible. And, the fact that he's able to take – I'm sorry, this team with this wide receiver group is garbage. For him to be able to go and put the Super Bowl champs that team completely returned everybody.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think Tampa Bay lost anyone from the Super Bowl team.
No,
and put them.
And now they picked up Richard Sherman.
Now, yeah, in fact, that's right. They sure did, and they got Antonio Brown for a full year. So, to put them at and go and look up. I mean, the New England defense is good, and I think Mac Jones is going to be good. I think Damian Harris is good, but I think if you look up and down that, and I think Jonnu Smith's good at tight end position, but I think if you look up down that. The wide receivers and everything, it's garbage. It's hot garbage. And here
they spent more money in free agency than any team in history, but they put it all on defense.
They got a chance. They got a real opportunity to do something next year, believe it or not, because they'll have some amazing free agents at wide receiver position coming out. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll do that. But I guess your team's won today, right, Lana? That's good.
No, they lost by 4.
They lost by 4.
Oh, they lost. Oh, they did lose.
Matt Ryan
my wife had a bet. I was like, I think they're going to lose. Yeah.
Matt Ryan always has a good game.
Yeah, he's always a safe fantasy start.
Too bad. It turns out you cannot win in the NFL with no defense. It's impossible.
Right.
Yeah, and they work in college, but not the NFL.
Yeah, I mean,
it'll be painful.
Dude, Little Shop of Horrors is on. Have y'all seen that?
Oh yeah, years ago.
Very old movie, but
yeah, it is.
I love that movie.
I told you guys, I watched. Me and my wife stayed up until 3 a.m. watching Midnight Mass on
Midnight
Netflix.
Mass. Now I saw that.
It was
Where was
so
that?
good.
It's on Nickelodeon. I mean, not Nickelodeon.
Netflix.
That's
Is
on
it on
Nickelodeon,
Netflix?
Nick Jr. Yeah, like Nick Jr. The kids love it. Yeah.
It's kind of like
nothing like
it's a cult like horror type movie, right?
yeah, a
A little bit
small town on
supernatural.
the coast. Yeah, I mean, kind of, sorta. You don't realize that it's going to be scary until I think it's like 10 episodes. By the time you get to like episode
Show
5, you're kind of like, okay, I know where we're going. And it's not slow. It's actually extremely interesting. This preacher, not really a preacher, but I guess a priest shows up in a small town that's on an island. And he is, they were expecting a priest that they have had since the beginning of time. He's really old. This young guy shows up and he's like, your old priest is sick. I'm here to, kind of fill in for him until he feels better, blah, 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 blah. I'm not really sure what's quite going on, but it's very, very good. And man, I don't want to ruin it, but it's got a really cool, funny twist to me. I thought was hilarious, but it's good. It's on Netflix though. And so we watched
you
that.
guys binge watched it all?
What's that?
You guys binge watched the whole show in one night?
Yeah, well, we did 2 nights. We did like 3 episodes one night, and I was like, it was good. I mean, it had us come back. So it wasn't bad. It just was like, all right, I don't really know where this is going, even though I'm really interested in seeing where it goes, that kind of thing. And then we kind of were like, all right, I'm going to bed. And then the next night, I was like, hey, you want to watch, finish it or watch a couple episodes? So we did, and then it picked up so much that we just couldn't stop because it is violent because it does end up being a horror movie. But I can't watch that with the kids there. So I'm like, my wife's ready to turn it off she's like, well, I'm gonna go to bed. It's like 1:30. And I'm like, no, there's like 3 episodes left. I'm like, no, I'm gonna finish it. And she was like, no, come on, don't finish. Don't do that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna finish it because I know what'll happen tomorrow. So there's like 6 episodes left. I'm not going to be able to watch it until tomorrow night, which is a Sunday night. I got to do the show. There's no way I'm going to be able to watch it Sunday night. So I'm going to try for Monday night. Then it'll work. So I can't stay up late. So I'm like, let's just do it now. Let's just do it now. We're into it. We're locked in. We're interested in what's happening. So we did. And we went to bed at I think it was like 3:45 last night. 2 parents. God. Yeah, man. And of course, the kids were just ready to go at like 7 this morning. So
God.
It was like being hungover.
That's an adult hangover, right? That's a parent hangover.
Yeah, parenthood hangover, and all that. But it was really good. I'd highly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. Did you guys watch anything cool?
I watched the preview. So I
watched Sinister 2. I thought we were going to watch Sinister, but it was Sinister 2.
No, Sinister 2 is horrible.
It was bad, yeah.
No, the first one's great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Did you watch the first one?
No.
But yeah.
I watched the second one.
Yeah, you went straight to crap.
It's like watching RoboCop 2, bro. Like you can't. You're just getting the worst end of all of it.
I mean, there's like 2 or 3 good sequels ever in anything.
Yeah.
Well, they focused more on that monster in the second one, the creature, and showed him more, and he was more or less an idea in the first one. They may have showed clips of his face real quick, like in the bushes or something, like he saw on the film. It was really good. And he basically was uncovering all this whole mystery as the movie went along.
Yeah, I've got to watch that. I know the director has a new film coming out that's getting a lot of talk, a lot of praise with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, Sinister 1 is great, dude. That was a really, really good one. The other one I thought was really good too, which was Scott, did you see Heredity?
Yeah, I liked it. It reminded me of
Heredity.
It's like 70s horror, but more modern.
Oh my God. That movie freaked me out. Have you seen it, Wick? Heredity?
I might have. No, I think I would remember it if it was like the 70s.
Well, it has, yeah.
Dude,
what's her name? Colette, the girl.
All I know is like it got really weird at the
Oh,
beginning,
yeah,
and
I know
then it
exactly.
just like
no, I haven't seen that. Corey
got
saw it. I didn't
intense.
see it.
Gabriel Burns.
Yeah, and
this freaky little girl.
Yeah, that girl was kind of freaky. I mean,
Toni Collette,
obviously
and
she has a condition.
Toni Collette,
the mom from Sixth Sense.
They put her in the movie for a reason. Yeah, that one, dude. That one. That's one of those like The Witch, where I watched it at night by myself, and I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna watch something, and turn it on a scary movie or whatever. I did that with The Witch. I don't know if you guys saw that one. But The Witch creeped me out. Because it's like 2 a.m. and it just really creeped me out. And then I went to rewatch it and I was like, this is kind of boring. But the first time I watched it, I was like scared. It really freaked me out.
You really get scared in horror films? I wish I did.
No, I get creeped out, like a vision of something. So like, I listen to a lot of like horror podcasts and things like that, just because I like genuinely being scared. I love Halloween in October. The weather's changing, and I just love that stuff, man. I'm an 80s horror guy. That was such a big deal in the 80s growing up. Jason and Freddy and all of that, and Halloween and everything. And so I do enjoy like a little creep factor. But I was listening to this one that was about, and it was like an investigative thing where they're talking about this phenomenon, and they'll have people come on and talk about their different stories with it. And I haven't been creeped out in a long time, but this week I was really scared to go outdoors at night because they were talking about black-eyed kids. Have y'all heard about this?
No.
There's these
kids with black eyes.
These kids will knock on your door, right? And you open the door and they want to come in. They need to use the phone. It'll be a really weird excuse, like we're lost, or we need to have our mom come pick us up, or just a really weird excuse. And they're kids, and you'll notice that their eyes are completely blacked out. And they'll make.
So who's letting them inside?
Nobody.
They have blacked out eyes. Yeah, I was about to say
nobody. But there's a really famous story about this guy who was like the first person to really say he had contact with these kids. And I could see this happening to anybody. He pulls up at a shopping center at night because he's writing a check for a utility company, and he needs to drop the check in the drop box. Okay. He's late on his bill. He's trying to get it in before they give him problems, water company or whatever. So he pulls up to this little like shopping center, has a couple of stores in it. And it's late at night. It's like 11 o'clock. He's sitting in his car with his car running in the parking lot. And he's looking down and he's kind of writing his check out. It's got his little like lamp on. And he's writing out the check. And somebody starts knocking on his window. And so he's like, no, this is weird. He just thought it was like whatever. So he kind of cracked his window a little bit. He said it was 2 kids. And they're basically talking about how they needed a ride to their mom's house because they, were supposed to be back and they got out and they were just too late now and they're too far away. Could he give them a ride back? And he's like, something just didn't feel right. I was uneasy, like these kids are he's like, and it wasn't until like I kind of like started really realizing when they got closer to the window to talk that their eyes were completely blacked out. And he says, I have this really weird conversation with them and they, are begging me like, please let us come in. Let us in your car.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah. And he's just like, he's freaked out and he's like, I'm not letting these kids in for nothing, So he starts to crank his car up and they start beating on his window. Like and they start screaming, we can't get in. We can't come in until you let us. You have to let us in. You have to let us in. Blah, blah, blah. And he said he took off and they were chasing his car and everything like that. But then they had stories of other people where these people are at home hanging out, watching TV, knock at the door. It's real late at night. They go to the door, they kind of open it and it's 2 kids and they have black eyes. And it's like, we're lost. We need to come in. Can we come in? Can we come in and use your phone? Can we come in and do this? Can we come in and rest or whatever? But there's these stories of like, he just had these different people calling in with stories of this experience. And dude, I'm telling you, I usually walk at night, like, trying to lose some weight, and I've been out, walking at night and I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going outside right now. I'm not saying I needed 2 kids walking up to me with black eyes, bro, and freaking me out. Even if it was just normal kids.
So let me
like,
get this
just
straight.
walking
You're
by,
not exercising because you're afraid of children.
with black
oh my
eyes.
God. But I mean,
I'm
think
sorry,
about
but the
that.
story is genuinely creeping me out.
Yeah, I mean, the story of itself is just like, man, this is really creepy, dude. Like, who? I mean, it's always that knock at the door at like 1 a.m, where you're like, what is this? Can't be good. But is somebody in need of help? What's going on? Is it my neighbor? You crack the door a little bit and there's 2 kids sitting there. That's creepy automatically. Just 2 kids. I mean, in the middle of the night. Add in black eyes. And apparently this is a phenomenon. They were the thing is that this guy who was telling the story was the guy that was in the car that was writing the check to the utility company where they walked up on him. He was like the first one when the internet first started kind of becoming popular. He was the one that was writing on the internet trying to find out information in these forums. Like, this is my experience. This is what happened. Does anybody know what this is? And so he became like the first guy to really actually say, I've dealt with it. Since then, a lot of people have come out. But what they've realized is that other cultures call them something different. And there's an idea that these are actually what they call demons that are called jinns that are from the Middle East or whatever traditionally, or their history goes to the Middle East. But anyway, Scott watches Supernatural. He knows.
Supernatural. I'm wearing the shirt.
Yeah, they had a jinn episode. But anyway, which jinns can take on the form of anything they want, and they try to get access to you. But anyway, it creeped me out. I was like, dude, I can't imagine kids and then black eye kids, man. I'm just like freaked out, and it's their whole eye is just blacked out. And I'm like, that's scary. That is scary, man. And
I'm thinking, like, I'm sitting here.
You can buy those at Halloween stores.
What if somebody knocked on the door?
When this happened, this was like at the beginning of the internet was when they timed it. So, 90s. I don't think that stuff was going on in the 90s until like maybe the 2000s when people were doing that kind of contact thing where they were putting contacts in and stuff. So who knows if it's legit, but it creeped me out. And I'm like, dude, my wife's like, hey, you run the trash out. And I'm like,
I don't think so.
I'm not really big on that, right now. And I didn't want to tell her because then she would have been creeped out, not gone. So she took the trash out. But I was just like, I'll get it. Just kind of kept putting it off. Finally, she took it. But the only reason she took it was, because she didn't have any fear of the black-eyed children.
But you let Emily take out the trash and face the black-eyed children.
There's black-eyed kids out there. I'm a better manager of the situation than I am.
I see a pattern developing here.
Oh yeah, I was like, she's like, hey, run the trash up there, and I was like, yeah, okay, and I was like, whatever you do, stall this because I'm not going out there in the middle of the night because I'm just out by this story. Still, like this was on like Thursday. Yeah. And so
did jinns have the same rules as vampires as far as being invited in?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Every one of the stories was they had to be invited in. And of course nobody was letting them in, and none of the stories did anyone ever let them in because they were like, no. Which I find it almost even more a little bit kind of like believable they saw something because there like everybody that was interviewed was like, hell no, we didn't let them in. So like there's
the people who did let them in, they're not going to call because they're dead.
maybe or they're possessed. I don't know.
They're vampires.
I don't know. I don't know. It's that time of year, man, where I like being creeped out. So yes, certain things will creep me out like that, but for the most part, not really. I find humans more scary than monsters. You know what I mean? It's like the stories of people killing people that bother me more because we know that happens. I mean,
monsters don't exist in our minds generally, but if an actual monster did pop in that door, I think I would be more scared of it than if it were a person.
Really? I remember one time, you know what? I had an experience like this, but it wasn't a black-eyed kid. I remember years and years ago when I lived at home with my parents, I used to smoke. And on a Friday night or whatever, you'd be hanging out, and I would walk out into the garage and smoke a cigarette, or walk out in the front yard because my parents would not let me smoke in the house, of course. So I remember one night, this is funny because I have not thought about it until this moment. One night, our garage door was broken at the time. It would not work. And so it was always open. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go have a cigarette. I was probably watching a TV show or something. And it was probably like 2 a.m. And I remember opening the door to the garage, which all the lights outside were all out. I opened the door of the garage. Okay. So there's a wood door on the inside, and then there was a screen door on the outside. So I open up the wood door, open it up, hit the light for the garage as I'm opening the metal door, and there's a guy standing there looking right at me.
No,
God, I forgot it.
Freaked me
Dude,
out.
This is crazy. I just now remember all this because of us talking about it. I've thought about it, but I haven't thought about it in a long time. And I remember I had my hand on the screen door thing to push it open, and I hit the light, and he's standing there.
Oh my God.
And I just pulled the door back, and I was like, "Can I help you?" And he was like, "Yeah, I was just about to knock. I'm trying to find so-and-so's house." And it just so happened I knew who he was looking for. And I was like, well,
that's still too creepy.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, she lives 2 doors down, like that way. And he was like, oh, okay, cool, man. But he was kind of creepy, you know what I mean?
And then he went down there and killed her.
It was probably a teenager, but he was kind of dirty hippie-ish, I guess you could say. Anyway, you know how I feel about hippies. Anyway, so I turn on the light in the garage, and he's standing there. He's like, oh, hey, man. He's like, my bad. And I'm just freaked out, man. I mean, you know what it's like to have that bolt of lightning to go through you, where you just realize, oh God.
That's got to be the number one thing hippies say. Sorry, dude, my bad.
Sorry, man. And he was like, I'm looking for, so-and-so's house. And I was like, it's down that way, two doors down. And he was like, all right, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. And I was like,
so you gave the murderer directions to the girl's house?
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, as long as he's not here killing anybody. Whoever you're looking for is that way 2 doors down.
Right there.
And I was like, yeah, I don't need to smoke a cigarette tonight. Lock the screen door. Lock that door. I was like, I'm just gonna, and I did that whole thing where you hide in the darkness of your house and look out the window, to see where he went, where he was going. But man, I remember that now. So it is, I can't speak on black-eyed kids. And I want people to understand when I say black-eyed kids, I don't mean they got punched in the face. I mean, their eyes are blacked out. Blacked out eyes. But I can imagine from that experience and how it absolutely shot through me from my butthole puckering up and everything else, how it probably felt for people if that really was going on and there was these aliens or something, how you would feel opening the door to that. It's just, I'm out. I am out. So, yeah, more power to them. But, yeah, there's no stories of anybody coming in. But, yeah, man. I do get creeped out.
That would have terrified me.
I mean, I'm so glad I thought of that. Because if I didn't think about this in the show, and about an hour from now, I'd been like, damn it, I should have said that story. But yeah, man, it was freaky, dude. It was so freaky. The only thing that really saved the situation is when he said, I'm looking for so-and-so's house. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. Two doors down that way. If he'd have been like, I'm looking for somebody I've never heard of or something like that, that probably would have just really freaked me out because I kind of understood he was lost 2 doors down. You know what I mean? But anyway, it probably was like, hey, the garage will be open. Just come up to the garage.
It is.
Here's my garage open and everybody else's is closed. So he probably was like, oh, okay, that's her house. I don't know.
It is 1917 Tampa Bay. New England has the ball on oh my God, they're going for a field. They're going for in the rain, a 56-yard field goal with 59 seconds left.
Who New England is?
New England is, yeah.
Oh, Brady's on the field.
Good luck in the rain. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Missed it. Tampa Bay
wins. Brady on the field right now. Are you on a delay?
I must be. Did they already missed it? Did they already miss the field goal?
I think you're the delay. Game's over.
It's 52 seconds left.
Yeah, I'm right behind you then.
Okay. No, I mean like some cable services, it's like especially satellites are delayed.
Oh, so speaking about creepy people out,
it hit the crossbar, or it hit the pole.
Yeah, they just showed the replay.
Damn.
So Tampa Bay won.
They're going to win. Yeah, they get the ball back with 50 seconds left.
Got it. But it wasn't because of Tom Brady.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom Brady.
I didn't really watch it. Yeah, I didn't see any touchdowns for him. Anyway, I was talking about this being labeled Dog the Bounty Hunter. Have you guys been keeping up with this Brian Landry thing? Talk about creepy people walking around free.
I just caught a headline of Dog the Bounty Hunter. I think somebody posted it on Facebook or posted this tweet. And so then I started looking into, I don't even know who Brian Laundrie was until I Googled it. I know he killed some woman. There was a judge. He was in custody at one point, and then he got out and they killed her, right? His wife.
No, that's completely wrong. So,
okay. All right.
This guy and his fiance,
they
decide that they're Gabby something. They decide that they're going to buy a van, fix it up as far as a livable like camping van.
Yeah.
And drive it across country and go to all the national parks. It's actually a really cool thing. I was like, man, that's, if you're not married and you don't have kids, what a freaking pretty awesome idea. So anyway, they fix up this van, like a delivery van, I guess. Like the Amazon vans, kind of what it looked like. And they fix it up, put a bed in it and all this other stuff, basically make it a livable, habitable back end of it. And travel across the country, right? And hit all these state parks. And I guess you can stay free or really cheap at state parks, camp out, and just explore, hike and do all that stuff. Well, it goes really well for like 2 months. And then all of a sudden, he ends up driving 36 hours from basically Jackson, Wyoming, or Montana. I don't remember. Anyway. To Northport, Florida, where his parents live, and like just basically showing up and like everybody's like, okay, well, where's your fiance? And so the parents are like, wait a minute, you're back, she's not. What's going on? Well, his parents and him won't say anything. They won't even talk to the police. They basically just hold up in his parents' house. Everybody's starting to speculate, well, where is she? Where is she? Something's happened to her. Well, she ends up being found dead. In Jackson where he left. So basically, to make a long story even longer, the police are like, okay, well, we think you might have had something to do with it. They go in and interview him, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, he's gone. Nobody knows where he's at. The parents are saying they don't know that he left in the middle of the night and they don't know where he went, which nobody believes. And they got an attorney.
I'm starting to think this guy may have had something to do with it.
I think you're onto something. I think you are definitely detective material.
I smell a rat, and I think it's this guy that disappeared in the middle of the night and is evading police questioning.
Listen, the odds are, I say 51% in your favor.
So
anyway,
I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but
I don't doubt yourself, sir. Don't doubt yourself. He's basically now on the run. And so Dog the Bounty Hunter was like, hey, I'm in Florida. This is happening in Florida. I'll go look for him if the parents are cool with it. So he goes to her parents and are like, hey, you want me to join in? And they're like, yeah, of course, anybody help. So now he's like got leads and you can call his tip line and all that stuff. But he says that as long as he can figure out where he went in, like where he went into hiding, like his start point. So if it's the Appalachian Trail, if Dog says if he can find out where Brian Landry entered, he can find him. He just has to know where he entered.
Yeah,
so
but
he's been following up the leads.
Yeah, but come on.
He picked an island out off of the coast of St. Petersburg first, and he was confident he was going to catch him within the hour.
Yeah, he did.
And that didn't happen.
I mean,
so he's basically Dog the Bounty Hunter has said, if I can find out where he is, I can find him.
I'll find him.
I'll find it.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
well, I think with bounty hunting. Okay, so the kid's been gone. I would guess 2 weeks. Forgive me if I'm wrong, mate. Well,
it's been a few weeks. Yeah,
3 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we're going into the 3rd week. I don't know. Anyway, I think if you put so let's say somebody got on the Appalachian Trail on the run. The 3 of us can be told, hey, he was on the Appalachian Trail. We could go on the Appalachian Trail, but I don't think we would know what we're looking for. I don't think we would know where he would likely be moving along the trail, off trail. I think bounty hunters are good at doing that kind of thing where they go, this is how he was thinking. This is what he would do. He wouldn't do this. He would do that because of their experience. So I would give him credit on the fact that I think Dog the Bounty Hunter has experience and he has caught some major criminals like in Mexico and stuff like that.
Well, he has canines with him right now.
Yeah, he has canines and stuff like that. So I think he does have an ability to track and find this guy. But I do think it's important to find out where he last was. That's the problem, is that you really don't know. I think when most people are on the run, you know where they were last. I mean, they know that he was at his parents' house, but they don't know if he walked out the back of the parents' house or if the parents took him somewhere and dropped him off. And from what he said, that there's a park about 45 minutes from where they live. And there are records there that have the parents showing up to a camping reservation. Oddly, on the day he comes back from Jackson, which is, again, 36 hours. The day he comes back, they have a reservation at a campsite 45 minutes away. So they go and they camp out. And according to security video camera, they can tell that 3 people come in, but they only see 2 people leave in the car. So they're suggesting that they took him and dropped him off in that park.
What?
Yeah, I heard it. What was that?
That was weird.
Where did it go?
Some kind of yeah. Anyway,
I had a little notification pop up on my computer.
It might be. But yeah. So he had some really solid leads that he would be at this park, and he says he found a camping spot for him. But now somebody has come out saying that they know without a shadow of a doubt that they saw him on the Appalachian Trail. And that was another place where Dog did say, he goes, he's either here or I think he might have gone to the Appalachian Trail. But we're going to start here first because it makes more sense that he would be 45 minutes away being dropped off than several hours up in Georgia. So I would imagine Appalachian Trail is the next thing. But the problem is you got so many people that swear they saw him. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I saw him.
Yeah, that doesn't mean much.
Yeah, and I mean, they get mad because the FBI is not taking some of this stuff serious, but it's like, dude, you have to realize with a case this big where everybody's kind of paying attention, they're getting probably thousands of calls a day. Oh, I saw him at Quickie Mart over here. Or one person was like, he's in New York. He's here. He's there. And it's like, they don't have the resources to check all of that out. All they can do is call the local authorities and say, hey, look, we got a lead over here. Can you go check it out? But they still have to filter through hundreds of phone calls and messages and leads. So it's going to be really difficult because right now in the world of social media, everybody wants to be involved in this thing. And a lot of people are going to say they saw him when they didn't. A lot of people are going to make up that they, saw somebody that looked kind of like him. There was a trail cam that caught a guy in the woods walking around and they said that was him. I don't know. It's going to be I'm very, very interested to see if and when he gets caught. Some people think he's dead. I don't know. Like he killed himself. I don't know, but I don't know why I care about this case. I mean, usually these things happen. I'm like, whatever. But I think it's just that I'm amazed that this kid has been able to elude people. That's pretty incredible. Dogs, drones, helicopters, bounty hunters, reward money.
Timothy McVeigh, I mean, how long did he?
He was in the same area hidden, right?
Yeah.
Was
And
it
that
Timothy
was
McVeigh or was it
was
the guy who bombed the Olympics?
the Olympic bomber. Yeah, not McVeigh.
The Olympic bomber was
the guy
who was
who's
it,
bombing the
Timothy
abortion
McVeigh?
clinics.
Yeah.
Rudolph.
Yeah, but even
Eric Rudolph.
yeah,
Thank you,
Eric
Eric
Rudolph. There you
Rudolph.
go. But even like he knew like the North Carolina woods really good or really well, like the back of his hand. But even he started to starve. Like it
Yeah,
forced him to come out because he's like, I'm hungry, so I'm going to go through a dumpster or two. I don't care. I'm starving, and that's when he started getting seen, and that's when they were able to catch him. So it'll be interesting how long this kid can go with everybody really kind of being on the lookout for him. You know what I mean? Like getting hitching a ride is going to be impossible. Going into a quickie mart and getting food is going to be really hard. You know what I mean? Like now everything's got cameras. You know what I mean? And so many people are aware. And I'm just amazed that he's been able to just keep eluding people.
he probably will do it for a long time.
You think
Because
so?
if you go into the woods like that, it's
if he knows how to survive out there.
yeah. Problem is, I
know how
doubt
to
he does.
capture food and things like that. Now, if you have to run back into town to a dumpster to get a half a burger, that's going to screw you.
I'm really, well, I mean, like even at that, like there's so many things though that you have to be aware of. Animals, because I mean, there's panthers in Florida. I mean, there really are. And there's alligators. I mean, and you can get sick. I mean, let's say that you are starving to death and you're like, screw this, I'm going behind McDonald's. And you go dumpster diving and you find a hamburger. You got a probably 70% shot that thing's going to make you puke all night. You know what I mean? In 6 hours. So you got to deal with, food poisoning, contaminated water. There's a lot to deal with when you're on the run like that. And it's a lot easier when your face isn't all over the place and people aren't constantly talking about it. I mean, there are a lot of people that go on the run, right? And they don't make it that long, even when they're not all over the news. I'm amazed that this kid has. I mean, some people think he's just dead in the water somewhere and he'll float up one day, Can
you imagine if he actually gets caught by Dog the Bounty Hunter?
Dude,
like you'd just be like,
listen.
You'd be like, oh shit, no, really?
No, listen. I think the best outcome for this situation is Dog the Bounty Hunter to find him and bring him in. That's the best scenario. Because like that's like what everybody, and deep down secretly, even if you're like whatever, you kind of want to see it happen, whether you want to admit it or not, just for the novelty fact that Dog the Bounty Hunter finds this guy. But I don't think Dog's going to find him.
I don't think he will either.
I think the FBI will get a lead. It works.
If he's on the Appalachian Trail, that's a whole different landscape that he's not used to.
It is, and at the same time, man, it is a busy trail. And there are people they're like, oh, well, he's hiking off the trail. But you know what? A lot of people hike off the trail. He's not the only one. I know people who hike the Appalachian Trail every couple of years, and a lot of them don't follow the trail because they want the challenge. So they'll follow like along the trail, off the trail, like where it's a little bit more of a challenge for them. They like to camp off site, where they're by themselves and they don't want to be camping in a community or whatever. And so a lot of people will go out there and camp off trail anyway. So somebody's going to come across him, if he's in Appalachia on the trail. He'd have to really be off the trail. And at that point, once you lose sight of the trail, you could be lost out there. What would be crazy is if somebody finds him 20 years from now, like dead on the trail, like his skeleton or something where he just starved to death. That'll be really wild. But which would be the worst outcome, because her family will never get closure. It's better if we catch him, because at least they can get closure. But I mean, 36 hours away, that dude drove. So he was home on the 1st. They think that I think somebody was able to talk to her on the 29th, like a friend. So she was alive on the 29th. So she had to have died on the night of the 29th for him to get home by the 1st. That's hauling ass 36 hours away. That is hauling. And they've got to have cameras of him stopping to get gas somewhere. I think there's things that we don't know.
Oh yeah, they know. There's things that we don't know
know
that they haven't released yet.
Yep.
It's like people get murdered all the time. I'm wondering why we're focusing so hard on this one. Is it just because of Dog the Bounty Hunter?
No, it was a big deal
it
before he got
was big
involved.
before. Yeah.
I think
I think it
they
was
were kind of,
I think it was kind of the like the surrounding the atmosphere of it, that they were like driving, what you were talking about, they were driving across the country, they had dedicated a van.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just, and they were young, and they're young and attractive people. That's probably a big deal. Big part of it.
It is a big deal. Attractiveness does count for a lot in these types of things. And the other thing is, they were documenting it all on social media. So they had people that were watching them every day do this camping venture.
So they had like an Instagram van life account.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they would, like, let's say they go to some park in Colorado. That day, they're live streaming on Colorado, walking the trail and talking and cutting up and doing all their things. So people felt like they kind of knew them from a lot of their social media posts because they were live streaming everything.
I wonder what his motivation.
Then the live stream kind of stopped. The live stream stopped happening for a couple of days, and people were like, "What's going on?" And then he shows up back home, and everybody's like, "Wait a minute, this girl's missing, and he's back home. I've been watching them stream for the last 3 months their adventures." So I think that had a lot to do with it. I think if they probably weren't social media savvy, probably it's something you kind of hear in the background noise. But I think because people were watching them, and then it was, then they had, body cam footage of them being pulled over after a fight. And I don't know, all this would be really interesting. I mean, you drive 36 hours to mom. To me, it was an accident. She was apparently she could be very, very aggressive herself. In fact, if you look at like the body cam stuff, he's got scratches on his face. Chunks of his skin's taken out on his face. And so he says that, she says she has very bad OCD. And he says that he got into the van and didn't clean his feet off. And she attacked him. Basically just lost her mind. Now, people can laugh about that. I've been in a situation just like that. And it does happen. It does happen. You can have somebody.
Yeah, I've been in a situation like that, but
yeah,
she was rando. I broke her nose.
Okay.
Not condoning violence against women. She would not stop. She was going crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it. I mean, I don't condone it, but I understand it. I've been in that situation before where somebody's flying hands at you and you're trying to just get them away from you. And I'm not at all excusing if that was the case with them. I'm not excusing if that's what happened in their case, but something kind of makes, and I'm wrong about these things all the time, so don't listen to me, but something kind of makes me feel like that was two people in a van. Things were boiling over. She probably lost her cool one night over something silly, like she probably has before, and came at him. And there was a lot of shoving and pushing, and she hit her head on something, and it was an accident. And he felt like nobody would believe that. And so the smartest thing he could think of to do was go back to mom, and drove 36 hours within a 2-day period.
He stopped by his mom's house, his sister's house, on the day he returned to Florida.
Yep. They think they know she knows something. She doesn't know anything. But then why is the family like covering for him? Why is everybody making it? I think he came back and he was like, I think they probably knew that the two of them fought a lot. Maybe she could get, I mean, I'm not excusing her being murdered at all, but if it's a case where she kind of loses it like that, they probably were like, oh God, it finally happened. She lost it. He lost it. And we knew this was going to end up bad. And they hired an attorney immediately. Most people would say, hey, look, the right thing to do is to get your kid into the police station to tell their story. But he had already run from the murder. He never called it in. A lot of parents would protect their kids in that situation. I don't particularly condone it, but my wife was like, you know what? I don't know if that happened with one of the kids. I don't know. I don't know what I would do, especially if you really felt like it was something that was completely accidental, but I'm like, hey, accidents happen all the time and people go to jail. I mean,
yeah, it's called manslaughter.
That's part of thing. It's part of life, like just because something's an accident doesn't mean that you don't have to pay restitution for that. So it's interesting. I think there's some people out there that kind of understand the protective parent thing, but it doesn't excuse not letting your kid talk to the police or I mean, they already hired an attorney.
Yeah, it's just like even if you're a parent, like at this point, choosing to, if you're covering up or aiding and abetting or obstructing justice, it's all going to turn out badly. There's no win.
Nothing's going to go well.
No, not at all.
And, you got to think, I got to think that the smartest thing the FBI could do is arrest the parents and tell it and just put it out there. Look, we're arresting them. We're going to contain them. We're going to take them in. We're going to put them in for aiding and abetting, and we're going to make them sit and wait for trial and see if that brings them out.
They have to have charges. They'd have to have at least some kind of evidence that they did.
Do you know that he's not being charged with murder right now? You know what the charges are with him? Stolen debit cards. He stole some debit cards and used them like 6 months ago. That's what his warrant's for. It's not for murder. So something's going on. Why wouldn't you put a warrant out for his arrest for involvement in murder? Why is it that his warrants for stolen debit cards?
Because they don't have the evidence yet. It's coming.
Well, I would think that you can still put a warrant on somebody for questioning involvement in a crime. Right? You can still bring somebody.
No, that's an arrest warrant.
Right. You still issue an arrest warrant for that.
Yeah, but if you issue an arrest warrant, you got to take it to trial. You got to have the evidence.
I don't know. It seems like there's enough, man. He was with her, now he's not, and he's back with the van. I mean, and nobody's the family. I don't know. This is a really interesting case and legal ways of doing these things too. I mean, I don't know. I just find it fascinating. This dude's still running around, right? I don't know. I'm hoping Dog. I'm cheering for Dog Hunter to bring him.
Yeah, if he didn't go somewhere and kill himself.
They asked Dog the Bounty Hunter about
his show back.
He was like, did he go to Mexico? And Dog the Bounty Hunter said, no way. And they asked him why, and he goes, the problem is that a white kid in Mexico crossing on into Mexico
sticks out like a sore thumb.
He doesn't know Spanish. He was like, the cartel will take him, and the cartel will turn him in for money. So he's like, if they know that he's out there, the cartel will go pick him up. They'll go find him, and they'll take him, and then they'll basically sell him to the FBI for the $20,000 or whatever. He was like, they'll absolutely do that. They're always looking for wanted people that cross over that they can take and barter back to the U.S. for money. I was like, that's crazy. Yeah. He's like,
so Mexico isn't really an option.
No, he's like, he goes, that's what everybody thinks. Now he could be wrong. Maybe he's in Mexico. We are talking about Dog, but he was like, if he goes to Mexico, he doesn't know Spanish. He's a white kid that crosses over the border. It's going to get back to the cartel that's running things. They're going to go sweep up and they're going to pick him up, and then they're going to contact the FBI and say, we have Brian Laundrie, and we'll give him back to you for $250,000. He was like, and everybody will know it. And he's like, and we'll have to pay it. They'll have to pay it to get him. So he's like, it's actually the worst place he can go. But I don't know, man. Somebody took him somewhere. I mean, if he's at Northport, Florida to Appalachian Trail, it's a couple of hours, man. That's a long ride. I mean, his parents either had to take him or something. He had to know somebody up there. Something's going on. I don't know. I kind of think he's dead in the water somewhere. Maybe not to be morbid, maybe killed himself and fell into the coastline or something, and they'll find him
I think he's alive.
I mean, I hope so, because like I said, that's the only way to get real closure. And that's what the family's owed. That's what her family's owed.
I mean, the only reason I say that is, if it was not like an accidental death and it was murder, straight up murder. I mean, he's probably got some sociopathic or narcissistic tendencies, and those people rarely kill themselves.
Well, it sounds like she had the mental issues if she's beating the crap out of him for getting in the van without cleaning his feet.
Well, and then they have witnesses that say that he beat her, that they saw him hit her. I don't know. It's
just depends on how much he took before he finally the guy's going to lose it after so much.
If that's the case,
he should walk away, but a lot of them don't. Huh?
You can't walk away when you're in a van. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, like walk away from the relationship.
We have to take a break. I'm going to go stand on the other side of the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of how that works. Yeah. It's not just like I'm going to drive off and leave you, 800 miles away, which may be what his excuse will be. Like, hey, man, we got in a fight. I left her, and I don't know what happened to her after I left. They'll be like, yeah, that's not how that works. But he should have said something when it happened, even if it was an accident. I don't know. It's hard to figure out like what people.
Yeah, running is always the first flag of guilt.
When you run.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fear. It seems like that could also be a response to fear of how it looks.
Yeah, I mean, who's going to believe you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, the guy's going to be the one. Of course, he is the only one alive in the situation.
Yeah.
Not to make a joke of it, but I mean, he is the one that's alive. But I don't know. I just think it's an interesting story, man. I was wondering if you guys had kept up with it. The other thing I was going to ask you guys, if I know I asked Wick about it, David Lee Roth retired. That's kind of an end of a era. It's kind of sad.
I didn't know he was still playing.
Yeah,
I mean, I heard he was playing with
Kiss.
Motley Crue, not Motley Crue, but Vince Neil's band doing a tour.
Yeah, well, I think it was kind of starting to happen because I remember
He's
a
crazy,
video of him. Yeah, listen, David Lee Roth's one of those people that I've said for years, if he ever has dementia, no one's ever going to figure out that he has dementia because he's all over the place anyway. Like, he's a major ADD. You know what I mean? Like, if you've ever seen an interview, it's freaking, I mean, he's just talking a million miles an hour. But, yeah, he had something where he was what they call it when you're singing at a Vegas hotel? Residency?
Residency.
He had a residency at one of the Vegas hotels and was doing something where he heard, I don't know if you guys ever saw this video. He heard some guys in the hotel where he's at.
Yes, I saw this video. That's
playing Van Halen.
That was so
he's
awesome.
Like, oh, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to knock on the door and really just shock them. David Lee Roth's at their door and they're jamming out to, jump.
It's the most awkward video.
Oh my, it's terrible. He goes down there with a camera crew. I guess they were doing a documentary on him or something. He goes down and he knocks on the door and these guys open up the door and he's like, hey fellas, it's Diamond Dave live in your face, and they're like, okay, hey man, what's going on? He's like, just, like he's just doing his Dave thing, and and they're like,
he's not like, that's me singing on the radio.
It was like, they're like, did you guys order food or like what's going on? They see the cameras and they're like, this is a TV show. What's going on? Yeah, we'll play along or whatever. And I think it just killed him because it was like Wick said, it was so freaking awkward because none of these guys, they were probably and they're like older, like upper 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
They had no clue who he was. And they're jamming to all of his songs, And I think that was kind of the first like camel, the straw that broke his back. But then he went on the tour with Kiss, who's doing like their last like tour, and Kiss fired him and said that basically he doesn't have the chops anymore. Yeah, they were like, he's not very good. And he hasn't been good in a long time. His voice is bad. I remember when I'm a big Van Halen fan, and I remember like they got back together and I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm going to see this, until I heard it. And I was like, wow, he doesn't have it anymore. He sounds terrible. So I was like, I'm not going to go pay $100 to go see that. What is that?
I would.
Scott, is that yours?
I'm watching the Van Halen video.
It's a happy neighbor.
It's a happy day.
He says it's a happy neighbor.
Oh.
We heard some Van Halen here, and my name's David Lee Roth, and I'm right across the hallway. We're on our way to EDC, but the fellas here were coming down the hallway, and they said, shit, we heard some Van Halen, and I said,
can y'all hear that?
Shit.
Yeah.
So we're your neighbors, guys. We're off to EDC. We're doing shit. And we heard one of the fellas said, I heard some Van Halen shit through the doorway. So I am Van Halen. Outstanding. Fellas.
They seem like they know him.
Have a great night.
To me, it was awkward.
I think he's done this more than once. So I'm probably watching the wrong video.
Anyway, yeah. But he shows up at the door and they're like,
but it was still ridiculous.
Okay.
He was very weird.
Yeah. But then Kiss fired him from opening from up the show and basically said he's got no chops anymore. And I think that broke his heart, because he's obviously a man with pretty big ego, right, Wick?
Oh God, yes.
Oh, there was a lady knocking on the door for him, and then he like took his arm and like didn't even look at her, just swiped it down. Telling her to stop knocking. And then he fixes his jacket.
He's a weird dude anyway, but he basically
victim dies after man's alleged rampage.
But he basically released a statement saying he was done and said a little bit about Eddie Van Halen and the death of Eddie Van Halen and how life's short and he is not very far behind Eddie. I don't know if that means that there was some kind of sickness there.
So I'm in the rear view mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's sick. And he also mentioned his doctor said you're taking your life in your own hands every time you go out on stage. So who knows what that would mean?
Maybe, there's so many different types of illnesses that he could have. But it's sad. How. I saw...
Unless he's partying. Unless we're talking about the partying.
Okay, so let's say it's a bone cancer. That makes his bones fragile or... You know what I mean? Like, there's, rest does a lot.
And it could easily...
deal with cancer.
Could also be heart disease.
Yeah.
Could easily be heart disease.
A heart issue. Yeah.
he did enough cocaine.
Liver or kidney issues, too. He partied pretty hard. So, I don't know. I saw a video of him at his residency where he completely sang the wrong lyrics to songs that he's been singing for. It's weird, man. That's a career that they start in 78, 77. My God, 40 some odd years. That's really hard to just say, hey, I'm done. I think that's the thing people don't realize. Like when you tour all the time like that, you don't really have a home. And you're just even if you're doing these little Vegas shows and all that, and you really don't have a place to call a home where you're there all the time, it's tough to think about, hey, I guess I'm going to just sit at home because he's not 70. I think he's 67 or something. I understand.
He looked older. Well, now he looked about 67.
People probably go still see him, right? I don't think on a major thing. I think he could do what bands like Poison do, like club tours and stuff like that. People would still go see it. But I don't know. It's kind of sad because he kind of broke up a couple of times during his message. And as a guy who's a Van Halen fan, it was kind of tugged on my heartstrings because you kind of realize that your heroes are dying. People that you looked up to when you were young are getting to that point where they're going away. And then there's Mick Jagger, who did
will
you see
not
where
go
Mick
away.
Jagger went to have a beer in North Carolina? Did y'all see this?
No.
Oh my God. Mick Jagger goes to have a beer in a bar in North Carolina and nobody recognizes him. He's just sitting at a table by himself. Nobody bothers him. Nobody comes up to him. It's Mick Jagger just drinking a beer. Somebody took a picture of him. Yeah. Nobody even recognized him or said, "Hey, Mick Jagger," which he was probably really happy with. I would imagine.
Oh my God. When you've been that famous for what? More than 50 years?
Well, let's see. Mick Jagger.
I remember seeing a
Mick
video of Paul McCartney, and it was after the Grammys, and they were going to the post Grammy parties, and it was some rapper that was having a huge party, and he showed up with his entourage, and they opened the door, and they said, "Yeah, you can't come in, man." He goes,
Paul McCartney?
"I'm Paul McCartney." They go, "Yeah, you can't come in."
You never.
And then they just kind of walked away, and they
McCartney.
filmed the whole thing.
I forget what rapper it was, but
Walk
the
away in
rapper,
shame, huh?
The rapper found. I think it was P. Diddy or
I don't know.
I think it was Jay Z.
I
think it was Jay Z, and Jay Z found out, and I think they eventually let him in.
Oh, they did. They went and showed him go back to the car.
I think if I think right.
I'm looking it up. I can't find it anywhere. But
I'm Paul fucking McCartney.
I mean, Paul McCartney's a global treasure. We've had this discussion. I mean, I've said it. I will say it. When he dies, I'll be extremely sad, and I don't know why. I just will be absolutely heartbroken.
It's the most famous musician alive.
Stories. Well, I mean, there's all these stories about just like how awesome he is. Like he doesn't like pictures and he doesn't like to do autographs. He literally said he was on Howard Stern, and Howard Stern was like, you don't do pictures and autographs. He was like, no. It's like, I don't want to do that. And he said, but I do love somebody who comes up and just starts talking to me about their life, because I think their life could be very interesting. And so he says, if you see me out, just start talking to me. And he was like, I love that more than anything, because he's like, I'm just there. I love learning about people and learning their stories and about their families and what they do. He was like, I find that just, I love connecting with people on their real personal level. And I was like, you know what? Find me anybody else of his stature, if you can even find anybody of his stature.
Yeah,
that would
who
be interested in having a conversation with you. You know what I mean? And not want to get out of there as soon as possible and blow you off, or here, let me just sign something and get out of here. I think it's a real telling thing that Paul McCartney's that kind of person. You know what I mean? So I'll be very sad when Paul McCartney passes, but yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, David Lee Roth is done. He's officially retired. We'll see how long that lasts, but that's the end of that.
Yeah,
I mean, he was basically like, Van Halen's done.
I think it's permanent.
Yeah,
I think it's been permanent. His attempts at coming back have eluded me completely, except for hearing about him going on tour with Kiss.
Well,
and then being ejected.
So think about all of the survival that Van Halen's had. They've survived without a singer. In fact, they did as good, if not better, with a new singer. They have replaced the bass player, which I think his son played bass for Van Halen for years. They never did replace the drummer, but I think they could have. The only guy you can't replace is Eddie Van Halen, and Van Halen, obviously, at this point. So once Eddie Van Halen's dead, it's like Van Halen's done. And that's a really weird concept, especially when you've had them. Even if you're younger, you know their music. You have heard it. You jammed to Panama or Jump or something. And it's just really weird that they've been operating for so long, since 77. And that, essentially Van Halen is finished. And you're just like, wow, and to see somebody kind of go through that recognition of, hey, you know what, my gig is done. I guess it's got to be kind of hard. I would guess, Of course, most people are retired by that time anyway.
Yeah, now
you guys have?
there's just going to be cocaine at home.
Now it's just cocaine and nobody to
Cocaine
share
in
it
the
with.
yard.
There's no party. Yeah. He used
He
to
won't
eat
live
Snickers
2
bars
years.
for breakfast. Yeah. Now he's got all the cocaine to himself. Now it's just sad. David Lee Roth doing cocaine in
He's
his
like,
own
this
house.
is what I always wanted, and yet I'm so empty.
I don't know. I think all he
All I
ever
wanted
wanted
was my
people watching
cocaine for
him do
myself.
cocaine. Yeah. He's like, watch him get married now.
Do we know?
Get married with somebody who's like 25 or something.
Do we know he's using cocaine?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
I can't know.
Yeah, he has all the signs.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. I've always heard he had ADHD, but I think that's pretty accurate just by watching him. Anyway, that's about it for me. You guys got anything to throw out?
No, I think we pretty well covered it.
I miss Norm.
Norm.
Yeah.
I wonder if has anybody? I mean, since maybe Robin Williams, has a comedian's death impacted so many people in such a manner? Like
Chris
such a
Farley.
tribute has been paid to him from every corner of the entertainment spectrum and on the
Farley
internet.
was probably on that level if it had to be.
And Farley. I actually had thought of Farley as well. But like, Norm, there's people like I'm reading comments and they said, I never knew who this guy was. And now I can't stop watching his videos.
Yeah.
It's sad that he's gone.
It's sad that he didn't have the career we wanted him to have. I don't think he wanted it, but
I don't know.
I mean, I was watching.
The career he wanted to have.
Yeah, it's what I'm saying. He got the one he wanted, but I mean, he could have. I was watching his sports show. Remember that? I mean, as he could have easily done, hosted the Tonight Show. Easily, he had, he was as sharp as anybody. His wit was razor sharp. His delivery was incredible. And he just didn't care.
I watched him on, I think it was the Tom Green show. I think Tom Green still has a show where he does interviews, but it's, I think it's still kind of like a podcast thing, like where he started before he got on MTV. Now his MTV stuff I couldn't stand. But I realized watching him do an interview with, I think it was Norm Macdonald, because I was watching a bunch of Norm Macdonald stuff. I was like, damn, Tom Green could have done something hosting at night, because now he's calmed down. He's very good with interviews. I'm just going to
the Tom Green show on it was the same format as a talk show.
He was like 22. They gave him all that power.
No, I'm talking about he had one that was when he was older. After it was the Tom Green show, but it was formatted like a talk show.
It is now, yeah, but it's like
he does now, but it was actually on a television, like it was on MTV.
Yeah, he's calmed down a lot, and he was really a good interviewer. I was like, damn, dude, like Tom Green has some interview skills. He could totally do like a late night show. He was really good and really funny, but he wasn't over the top like he was on MTV. But I'm watching a lot of Norm Macdonald stuff too now. It's talk about a guy that would take it to a real over the top point. I mean, guys like Conan O'Brien, and they just didn't know what Norm Macdonald was going to do. You know what I mean?
That's what made him. That's what made him so great.
Yeah,
you never know where the joke was coming from.
Yeah,
you couldn't see it.
And he's great at like giving guests a hard time that are sitting with him, and it's just it's weird. He's dead, Andy Dick's alive. It's such a weird life we live right now.
There is no justice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got one more. You guys got anything else? I don't have anything else. I think we had a pretty good coverage today. Did a little sports. Did a little true crime.
I wish they had
did a little entertainment.
I would just wish to God New England had won. I can't believe I'm saying that.
The what?
The New England.
Why did that matter?
I don't even care. I'm just pissed that Tom Brady didn't have a good game.
What? Well, I mean, he had a good game. He just didn't throw any touchdowns. I think
Well, he only got me 10 points. That's where I've scored 50
but it's all
points.
yardage.
This is like the worst fantasy week for me ever.
Been a bad week, huh? Yeah, a lot of
50 points, but I still have two players going. They're not going to help.
Yeah, I know what that feels like. The Monday Miracle. Well, I'm curious why New England had to win for you.
I just don't like Tom Brady.
I'm just curious.
I don't like Tom Brady and Mac Jones.
You don't like Tom Brady or Mac Jones?
No, and I like Mac Jones. So.
Oh, and you like Mac Jones. Got you. Yeah, but don't you feel like a little bit of your Tom Brady hates because people think he's the greatest and you're a huge Joe Montana guy?
That's part of it, but a lot of it is he's a great quarterback, but I don't think he's any greater than the other greats. He's gotten way luckier than the others.
I think a lot of the hate for Tom Brady is the fact that athletically he's probably bottom. I mean, if you look at athleticism, ball velocity, ball speed, all of these things, probably, I wouldn't say football IQ. His football IQ is probably great. But I just think even coming out of college and all of that, I just think that a lot of people have never bought into Tom Brady because athletically, I mean, I would imagine Joe Montana, even though he wasn't a runner, obviously probably athletically, probably profiles really high for a quarterback.
Yeah.
John Elway probably blows the top off. Andrew Luck probably blows the top off. Michael Vick blows the top off. I mean,
Dan Marino.
A lot of your Marino, probably a lot of your like really elite quarterbacks in the top echelon are probably guys who athletically would probably really amaze most people, where they're like, oh, they're a quarterback, but they're extremely quick, or their velocity of the ball is incredible, or their accuracy and all this other stuff. Where I think Tom Brady makes really good decisions. I think Tom Brady, I don't know when I think of quarterbacks that accuracy is the top thing for Tom Brady. I would probably say football IQ. But I think, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. But I think he might be one of those guys that makes everybody around him better. I mean, he made Wes Welker better.
He probably does, but the Super Bowl, I mean, like, how many of those Super Bowls were won simply by his outstanding play?
Very few.
Exactly.
I can think of one that was won by.
And I can, Vinatieri won the first one. The Falcons gave him one.
The officiating gave him one.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't care what anybody says.
But I mean, where he is,
as opposed to Joe Montana, who thoroughly, almost single-handedly won 4 rings.
Well,
just by his performance.
I'm going to speak for you. I think that your issue is that he has more rings, but you don't feel like he's the superior guy to have those rings. And that
I think he's in the top tier, but I think Peyton Manning playing for Bill Belichick in that era has the same amount of Super Bowls.
Much better quarterback.
Yeah. I think you plug a lot of people into that system. And I'm not saying it's just that he's a system quarterback, but they would have had success as well. Just the same amount of success. I don't think Tom Brady quantifiably is a better quarterback than Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, Joe Montana.
Here's the thing. You're probably right, but there's only one way that proves it. And he's proved it. I mean, as far as what most people would measure it by, that's what's in his favor. But I get what you're saying. But I think going to Tampa Bay,
he didn't win last year's Super Bowl. That was the front seven of the Tampa Bay defense won that Super Bowl.
Yeah, but he played a role in winning that Super Bowl.
He did play a role, but
I know he called off.
My argument would be
what I'm saying.
Take Joe Montana's 4 Super Bowls, take him out of that equation, and they don't even compete.
So Michael Vick, who single-handedly won games for the Falcons. We all agree on that. I mean, he single-handedly won a playoff game.
Yeah.
Is he then a better quarterback in that small sample size than Tom Brady is?
I don't. I think he was
I'm not
an excellent athlete and a fast runner, but I've never really saw a lot of him passing.
And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the quality of his play in the big game does not match the quality of play of Joe Montana in the big game.
Or John Elway even, or Peyton Manning, like you said. Yeah.
Well, maybe not John Elway, because that was more the running attack that
John Elway made some incredible plays.
Oh, John Elway was great. I'm just talking about in the Super Bowls. If we're going to measure greatness by how many rings you have. Then Joe.
But then are we discounting what you have to do through the season to get to that Super Bowl? Maybe the Super Bowl isn't the complete measurement, as most people do. Maybe it is what gets you there from 16 games. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just stating that as a possibility because I got no dog in the fight.
I'm not debating that he doesn't. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
For your money.
For my money, other great quarterbacks that have performed better in the big games and didn't have to rely on another team collapsing, a great defense, a kicker to win 2 rings. You know, Joe Montana drove his offense down the field and threw a post to John Taylor to win the Super Bowl. I never saw anything like that in Tom Brady. No great singular moment.
That's fair.
In a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Tom Brady is a guy who probably makes others around him better because I think we've seen him do that. And I think he's a guy that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, even though Scotty got you 10 points tonight, what he didn't do is throw an interception. So I think he's one of those people that can move the ball around the field. I think if you look at the talent he's had in his career right now at this point, after all this time, this is the most talented team he's ever had around him because New England easily has given him crap. I mean, I can think of only I can think of 2 wide receivers in his career that were worth anything. Which Wes Welker, who he made, Tom Brady made Wes Welker, and Randy Moss for that time. Randy Moss was with them, but they really haven't given him much. I mean, he's done a lot with the very little. But I agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying that I think maybe Tom Brady is a guy who works in a system really well, knows how to follow instruction really well, and knows how to do his job to get a team to a point where I don't think he's the guy that you can put a team on your back and say, I'm going to take it like a Joe Montana, an Elway, or Michael Vick, or a Peyton Manning, or even an Andrew Luck. So I think that kind of, or even a Steve Young. So
yeah,
I don't think he's the guy
he did in the first game.
Team to the end, right?
What's that?
He's not a guy that's going to carry the team to a win. He's going to be a part of the.
I'm not saying he won't do that. I'm just saying he hasn't done it in any more spectacular fashion than
anybody
the other top tier quarterbacks.
Fair enough.
He just played longer, and he also lost 3 Super Bowls. So,
hey, you know what though? Regardless, the dude is 45, and he's playing, and for my money, that's pretty cool. I mean, because I sure as hell couldn't do it at 45, and a lot of guys couldn't. A lot of guys were like either falling off or they were like, "I'm out, just can't take it anymore." I mean, Drew Brees could have kept going, so. I will give him some credit for being the age he is and still getting it done. I mean, he still threw for 250 yards tonight, and still seems to have some.
And they still pulled out the win. So,
yeah, they still pulled out the win. But
I had heard that in the first game, it was like on the last play. Didn't it come down to a field goal? The first game of the Buccaneers.
I don't remember.
I know, but he called off his coaches. The coach called the play and sent it in, and then he called it off and changed it, which is what got them into field goal position to win.
And then
I think my guess is he does things like that all the time.
And you're going to great he does, but to a Super Bowl. I mean, he owes one to Malcolm Butler too.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing.
Like, there's no
I
reason
think-
he should have won that suit. This is what I'm talking about when he's lucky. The reason he got that ring is because Pete Carroll, or the offensive coordinator, decided to run a pass play, a short slant, instead of running Marshawn Lynch at the goal line.
Yeah.
That gave Tom Brady a ring. That's luck. The
They say it's
Falcons,
better to be lucky than good.
the Falcons' complete collapse.
The Falcons not getting the pass interference call against Julio Jones.
Yeah.
They put him in field goal position at
Well,
the
you know
end. What gave him a
You know
ring?
what? Atlanta threw the ball when they had a lead. All Atlanta had to do was run the ball when they had a
Right.
lead.
And they run the
That
ball again.
solved all of the issues for Atlanta.
So
in that Super Bowl.
there's two moments there in which another coach's calling failure got Tom Brady 2 rings.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll end on that note, unless you guys got something else. Time to get out of here. Trying to.
I'm out of steam. Go
Out of
Braves,
steam.
man!
I'm
I'm
out
so
of steam.
excited.
Wick, are you out of steam?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wick is
But
out
go
of steam.
Braves!
All right, folks. Hopefully this went well. This is a new thing we were doing. Thanks to SteamYard for doing this for us. Hopefully all of the formats worked and everything streamed live. Thanks again for Anthony Leone, a friend of mine. Check him out too. He does a lot of podcast. If you're into fantasy, he does a lot of dynasty stuff on a website called Roto Heat. So if you're into fantasy and all that, Scott, you could probably use some help now that you're only getting 10 points for Tom Brady. Go look up Roto Heat. Check out Anthony Leone.
Yeah, I need to find something on the
I'm
waiver
just
wire.
kidding. I'm kidding. Anthony Leone can help you. But yeah, he hooked me up with this, and I think it's worked really well. So appreciate that, Anthony, if you're watching. Everybody else, have a great week. We'll see you next week. The Dukes of Blather. I'm Sam. That's Scott and Wick. Always Sunday nights. Don't forget. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Thanks, y'all.
Mhm.